Andrew Marks, co-founder of Success Hacker. Today, I'm quite excited to have with me one of my good friends and colleagues who, by the way, insisted on this background rather than my normal background. Melinda Gonzalez, Vice President of Customer Success at WeWork. Melinda, I know all about you, but why don't you tell the viewers a bit about yourself and your experience and your twisted sense of humor?
Well, that last part actually might be why we're such good friends, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you for the backdrop. I really enjoyed the backdrop. I was kind of hoping there might be, maybe it'll inspire a surprise visit from Brad Pitt. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Nice to be here, and thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Melinda Gonzalez, and I joined WeWork as of a year ago. Today is the anniversary. And, really joined to try to introduce customer success into a space as a service industry, which is very new for me. I consider myself to be a lifelong learner, and I'm constantly looking for new challenges. So that's what brought me there. Prior to WeWork, I had my own practice, working with small, mid-sized, privately held usually companies, trying to go public and helping them understand what customer success and customer experience should look like within their companies. And then prior to that, I was with Salesforce for 10 years, building out customer success strategy, operations, launched a Net Promoter at Salesforce, and just spent a lot of time having great experiences there.
Melinda, I know that career pathing for your teams is a really important value that you bring to your leadership style. So let's talk about why you're so passionate about that.
I mean, I guess in the end of the day, it's really just me paying it forward. I feel like I've had a pretty awesome and fun career in customer success. I've had a lot of my own ups and downs. I fully expect to have many more of those. And I feel that customer success, stepping into that role, has really afforded me a pretty amazing career. I've jumped around quite a bit. As I mentioned earlier, I was started in customer success as a customer success manager, not really knowing literally at all what that was. I had no idea what the role was. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had been consulting prior to that time and was really just looking for a role where I could use my consulting chops. So that worked out, but those who know me know that I'm also a lifelong learner. I think they call it growth mindset now. There's all kinds of terms for things that have been around forever, but I do tend to need challenges. I'm on a cycle of kind of switching things up every 3 years. And so, at Salesforce, and the time that I was there, I was able to move around and do really significantly different things during my tenure there. So having stepped into the product organization, actually getting certified as a product manager. I actually thought at one point I was going to go down that path of becoming a product manager. It's still a very customer oriented role when done well. And, then moving out of that role and launching NPS for the company. And that was probably around 2010 or 11. And for me, that was a huge eye opener because I've been working in consulting and customer success for many years, but that was the first time that I learned that there was this whole term to an industry that I was already really loving, which is customer experience. And that's where you start to get into voice of customer and journey mapping and customer driven, data and analytics and insights. And so that really took me down a completely different path of journey mapping. That journey mapping is a tool. Again, those who know me know that I love journey mapping as a tool. It's not a one and done exercise. It is a tool that I use in my toolbox for different situations. But, I describe it as an asset that you can use in customer success to really understand what the customer's experience either is or could be, depending on if you're doing current state or future state journey mapping.
Well,
and I love it.
That's how we first met, was when after you left Salesforce, you launched that MG CX Advisors consultancy where you were focused on the CX, and we started talking back then. I think it was 2014, when we started talking about how the overlap between customer experience and customer success was so strong, and um, we actually believe we even worked on a few opportunities together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so that's actually when I started to realize how, how joined those two practices are and really should be. And I do like to bring them together. Even in my practice, it took me a while to kind of figure out the structure of it. But the way that I had my practice set up was I had three main offerings. One was customer journey mapping to help you set the vision for the experience that you're trying to deliver. Another offering was customer success strategy and execution. So oftentimes in that role, I would step in as an interim CCO or customer success leader to help an organization either rebuild or build from the ground up customer success and helping you execute on that vision that you've established. And then the third component of it was voice of customer. And that is highly, highly, again, when done well, data oriented, and it's a way to ensure that you're not caught off guard and that you're constantly monitoring how well you're executing on that vision that you've established. So that's kind of how my brain thinks, set the vision, set up the organization to execute against it, and then measure it. And that's just kind of a continuous circle. So that's really where I started to dabble in all of these different methodologies and how you can bring them together to build a really great customer success strategy. But, I think for me, I've had the fortune of being able to get exposed to so many different aspects of the industry. Doing things like NPS and voice of the customer really does rely on a highly analytical, statistical mindset, which I never thought I actually had until I stepped into that role launching NPS for Salesforce. And ever since then, I really do believe in the power of bringing data together with customer empathy and insights to understand what the path forward is. So for me, I feel like I've had the fortune of having a pretty awesome career moving around and touching these different aspects of customer success. So I get super pumped when I'm talking to others in the customer success industry who are trying to figure out what their next step is. Because frankly, I think customer success is such a great position that gives you exposure to so many different aspects of a business. It's almost like its own MBA, where you get exposed to product and you get exposed to marketing and you get exposed to support and sales and operations and finance and legal. And so it really is a jumping off point, I believe, that can move you into any part of a company. And ultimately, if you're looking at the executive path, I truly believe that someone starting out in a customer success role can very easily move into a sales leader role, a CRO role, a COO role, or obviously a chief customer officer role as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can go anywhere. I always like to diagram customer success as kind of the cog in the middle of everything, because customer success, to your point, connects the customer with every aspect of the organization.
Absolutely.
And so lots of different opportunities, but I also, and I've told you this before as well, but I also feel you're one of the most well-rounded customer success executives I've ever met. You're very customer focused. You understand at a strategic level the customer journey, how to map it out, how to build it, how to communicate with those that need to be communicated with in order to develop that. You understand the operational aspects of operationalizing that strategy. And then the whole voice of the customer thing. I mean, it's like that's the three-legged stool on being the most well-rounded and effective customer success leader, right? Being able to understand the customer, the product, the strategy, and hearing what the customer needs and wants are. I mean, if your strategy is to stay in customer success as a career objective, getting all of that experience, if you want to get into leadership, is really important.
Absolutely. And that's something and thank you for that. I appreciate that very nice compliment. I will pay you later. But that's one area that I feel very passionate about. My current role, I stepped into the organization and re-leveled all of the roles, also transitioned to a different comp plan. But my goal in that exercise was to recognize and reward the value that the customer success team was delivering to the business, but also to ensure that everyone could have a line of sight into how they could move up within the organization. But I often think that customer success managers do think primarily about moving up within the customer success organization. And my experience has been a little more hopscotched than that. I mean, I started in customer success, I moved into product, I went to voice of customer, started my business, kind of started stepping into success leader roles, currently in a leader role. So it's just, and I'll probably change, another 3 or 4 times. So I think for me, it's a really great way to move around the business and get a deep understanding of different aspects of the business. And ultimately, I think that does, to your point, serve you really well if you are looking to move into a leadership role. And even if you're not looking to move into a leadership role, that still makes you a highly valuable kind of asset for any company who's either, employing you or looking to hire you, especially if you have that understanding. So much of my ability to navigate across the business is really couched in an understanding, a deep understanding of, how product managers think and how they operate. Same for sales, same for marketing. So to the extent that you can get that kind of exposure in different aspects of the company as a CSM, one of your core skill sets really should be navigating relationships, conversations. That can only serve you in the long run.
So the net is, from customer success, you can go anywhere or do anything you want.
Yeah, I mean, yes. And I guess the net for me would be to encourage people to be thoughtful about the path that they think they want to take. And it's not a question of what do you want to be when you grow up, because I've never known that, literally, I still don't. But it's really a question of what are the next things that you think that you want to learn. And that's going to help an individual understand, like, what's the direction that they want to move into. And then they can start to work with their managers to understand how best to set things up to give them that kind of exposure. So my best advice is to take your career in your hands and navigate it, and don't necessarily rely on those around you, even your managers and your leaders, to navigate it for you.
It's great advice. Thanks for spending some time with me today.
Thank you. Always glad to be here.